this concludes the shot of the being very pedantic here. We started yesterday Tanadvei Chizkiah. I think we should repeat it quickly, and then we go through it again. Just because the Gemara today is all predicated on this brisa. The bottom line is we have two psukim by Shomer. One talks about that if a person gives him kalim and all that. Another one talks about he has to pay, and we say that then we have to pay double. And basically, we had an argument whether both psukim are talking about a shomer who claims it was stolen, and turned out to be that he himself stole it. And we have two psukim teaching you that din, and we explain why we need two psukim. And the other one says no. The first pasuk is talking about an ordinary ganef. How do you ganef pays double from there? And then the second pasuk is talking about the case of a toyin tainas ganef. And the reason, according to the one who says they're both talking about toyin tainas ganef, the reason why you need two psukim is because the first pasuk teaches you that only if the shemer says it was stolen, not if it says it was lost. If he says it was lost, you don't pay double. So we're going to revise again from the bottom of the page, Tanadvei Chizkiah, just to make sure we have it clear, so we'll understand the whole Gemara. Tanadvei Chizkiah, the Chizkiah asks, Yoima, the pasuk says as follows: Im himatzei to matzei, find you will find. Then it says hagneva, the stolen items. Then it specifies shoyr, a cow, an ox, a chamoy, a donkey, seh, a sheep, chayim, shnayim misham, living you should pay. So the way the Gemara will learn the brayse we want to sort of right now. Shoy v'gneva, yoima. Let us just say shoy and gneva, and if we take it seriously, so the Gemara thinks right now he meant let's have a klau prat to klau, which means you include anything which is similar to the prat. However, let us only include things which are similar to the prat. Shoy gneva hakoil b'klau. And that's enough. Why does the Torah have to itemize each one? Chamor, seh. Let it just say shoy, and then say gneva, and we have a cloud prat cloud. You don't even need chayim. So the Gemara, Chizkiah explains why we need them all. Now the problem the Gemara is going to be if it says only shoy and gneva, it's not a cloud prat a cloud. It's just a prat and a cloud, and we know that a prat and a cloud includes everything. Not like a cloud prat a cloud, which is only marbe ke'ena prat. But right now the Gemara thinks that he meant cloud prat a cloud. And this is how the brayse goes. If it only said, let's say, sure, I would say, has to be similar to the prat. Only animals which are brought mizbeach. Only animals which are brought mizbeach. So what can you add that is not brought mizbeach? Seh. A sheep. It is mizbeach. Yeah, so what are we including that's similar? Seh. So kishahu oim seh, but then pasuk says clearly seh afterwards. What does that come into include? Not to say, we already know that from Shait. Must be as Amr, Hamani, Mekai, Geneva. And then we have, so the Torah spells out that not only a Shait, but a Seh. You might think the Seh not only a Shait. I'm telling you, anything which runs very like a Seh. So now comes along Geneva, which is a cloud. What's it coming to add? Everything else. So that's it. All we need is Shait and Seh. Why need Chamor? What do you need Chaim for? The Rabba is called Dover. So what, Hani, Mekai, Geneva, what I need Geneva, let called Dover. Must be, it's coming to add everything. And the Gemara will say they still don't understand. If it's a cloud prat, the cloud doesn't add everything. It only adds things which are similar to the prat. So all that the Gemara will explain. So let's say, okay, let's say shoy sebek neighbor and hakol b'chlal. Let's just say that, and we'll know everything. Why does it say chamoy? Why does it say chaim? No, because if it would say only those three, what do you know about shoy and said that they both have in common? The footage dover hakodesh b'chayda. Not only b'rom mizbeach, but they're also kodesh, the firstborn. By Yiseh, it's a Kodesh B'Chaydes. You have a Kodesh B'Chaydes by a Shoyer, and you have a firstborn by Yiseh. No, I've called Dover a Kodesh B'Chaydes. I would say, okay, so these two things, that's it, only those. Ma yesh loch lahavi. If you want to add something that's not, what's it called B'Chaydes that you don't already have by Yiseh? Chamay, a donkey. But the Torah says Chamay. If you have a Chamay, how did Chamay Amr? So the whole, says include a donkey, but it says Chamay. So why is it afterwards include what? Must be. It's called Davos. We know everything. Let us say everything. That's how we know to call everything. Okay, so just say Shor, Chamor, and Seh, and Gneva. What are you chayim for? I will know everything. No, says Gemara again. Since the cloud, part of the cloud, you only include which is similar to the prat. I would have said Ma prat nefurish balachayim. What do we know? What the hell will have in common? They're living animals. So I've called balachayim, only living. Ma yesh lach lahavi. What are you going to include? Shar balachayim, other living things which are not included in Shor Chamor and Seh. Other living things, like we said before, things which are not generating tumah, other living things, like birds. Kishoyim chayim, but then it says chayim, living things. So what do I need to include? It says Chaim. What is Geneva comes down to tell you more that you already know from Chaim? Must be to tell you things, include things which are beyond Chaim. The Rabbis called Dover. That's riskier. And now the Gemara have a problem with this whole brisa. Because there is no cloud prat klal, it's just a prat klal, and so on and so forth. You start off saying, let it say Shor Geneva. First of all, Miksiv Shor Geneva. Does it say Shor Geneva? If you look at the pasuk, first it says Hageneva, and then it says Mish Shor V'Chamer, the other way around. First you have the klal, and then you have the prat. Geneva V'Shor Diksiv. Exactly what the Chizki is saying. If the Torah wanted, it could have swapped around the order and done what and written first Shor and then Geneva, and you learn all these things. That's what you would have thought. Even Emma coming as it could have been written. It should have written Shor Geneva. If that's what he meant to say, it doesn't make sense. You know why? Because how do we learn things out when it's like prat followed by a klal? How do you think when it's a prat followed by a klal? You include everything. And yet he's trying the whole time to learn things which are similar to the prat. Maha prat mefudish. So how can he say maha prat mefudish? The prat is so and so, and if I want to compare to that, but if it's a prat followed by a klal, then you learn everything. I will show you prat v'gneva klal. Prat a klal. That's a klal moisel a prat. We know a prat and a klal is like a riba miri. Is map everything. Yes, so his whole brisa doesn't make sense. He himself was talking. He's saying, "Oh, if I say only shirt, I would have thought only color mizbech." Say, right? Yeah, but why? If it's a prat and a klal, then you map everything. Ella navas kidiksiv, like it says. Ella kidiksiv ka'amri comes to teach you geneva v'shirt. Ella kidiksiv ka'amri. He's saying no. He meant the way the Torah wrote it. First Geneva and then Shor, and he wasn't careful to quote the pasuk exactly the way the pasuk is written. So therefore, he he said Geneva and Shor, but even though he said Shor but Geneva, he meant Geneva and Shor, exactly the way it's written. The problem is, much as Amri, then how can you say Haka b'chlal? How can you say that everything is included? A klal prat. What do we know about a klal prat? If Geneva is first and then Shor, and his question is, let us stop right there. What would you add? Zero. Because what's the thing we have a cloud followed by? How do we learn when you have a cloud followed by prat? That the prat is defining and limiting the cloud to the prat. What's he trying to include all these other things? Number one. Oi, and then he continues. Ma prat nefudish, just like the prat, so too. Have the Geneva cloud, v'shoy prat, and cloud the prat. Ein b'chal, mashu prat. Shoydim midachin loy. So how do you understand this price? What's going on here? If it's a prat and a klal, doesn't make sense, then everything included. If it's a klal, and a prat, then it's only limited to the prat. There's no klal prat to klal here, and the whole brayse is written as if there was a klal prat to klal here, and let's include things which are similar to the prat. Where's the klal prat to klal here? So we learn two different ways. Ambar comes along and says Tana achayim kasamachlei, that there is a klal prat to klal here. Geneva is a klal, and then it says here shor chamor, mishor at chamor atzeh. Chaim is a klal again. It's a living klal. Now, the only thing is, the second klal, Chaim, is far less than the first klal. The first klal is Geneva, anything you stole. The second klal, Chaim, is you stole. What did you steal? A living thing. So the Chay it's much more specific, and we'll see soon whether you can have two klal which are not really actually the same. Says the Gemara, okay, so that's his klal prat klal. That's the whole text of the syntax of the brayse. Since you have a klal prat klal, why do you need shor, chamoy, and sel? Just have shor, just have chamoy, and so on. Okay. If you look at this long thesis, the fascinating thesis, Rabbeinu Asher Melunil asks the D Melunil, and he has a whole list of questions here. And basically, what the first 2/3 of thesis is saying that the word chayim can either mean a living thing, or the word chaim can mean a chashuv thing. We're going to learn. Rav says achayil kedem kein shagonav means that if the price when you stole something worth more money than when you actually went to court, you pay according to the price you stole because the word chaim, you got to give him something chashuv, got to be mashlim, whatever it is. So you pay the original price. So and according to him, the Gemara keeps on changing here. Which probably when you're learning whether Chaim is specific living things or Chaim means chashuva things. We'll go into it because the text at the bottom doesn't like to answer. It's 4 questions, doesn't like to answer the 4th one. Anyway, let's continue. Amar Rav says, Rav, Tana Chaim kasamachlei, the klal or platu klal ka'amalei. That's it. The second klal is much more limiting than the first klal. So that's not a problem because there's a machlekes that works. And our Tana, hot Tana, the Rabbi Shmuel, who our Tana follows Rabbi Shmuel, the Chai Gavna, Dodish Kloli Prati. He holds Taka Yidash and a cloud like this, where the second cloud is greater than the first cloud. Okay.
Even though we just said Chaim, it's true. It's
yeah, no. So if Chaim is living, so the second cloud is much more limited than the first cloud. But as far as the Prat is concerned, it's much more expansive. The Prat is showing Chama set. Limit, very limiting. So therefore, that can be called a cloud, Prat to cloud. So and this is what bothered Tanvir Chizkiah. What's bothering him? What's bothering him is im himot at the very end. Im himot say timotze lamid. The pasuk starts off himot say if you find anything, timot say find anything. These are like two klolim. What do you get? Double, and it's two klolim. And now you have a cloud after that. It's hagineva, that's chamoy. I'd say that's already protein, and you have chaim. What do you need himot timotze for? What does that come to add? Im himot timotze lamali because the chayda that comes seems it's a cloud as well. It comes to add something. What's it coming to add? So now Rav is saying you have to have in mind, just like the elephant in the room, that we don't mention it, but that's what the whole thing is all about. The whole question of Chavchizki is you have a klal practicality, but you have it right in the beginning of that very same pasuk. He must say ti must if he found you found, which are like two klalim. What's that coming to add? So he said like this: Imi matzi lamali yema. Let it just say shoyd v'gneva v'chayim. Let it say shoyd and gneva and chayim. All the way around gneva. The pasuk gneva shoyd chamer and said all that v'chayim v'hakar b'chal, and everything's already included. You have a klal practical. Everything's included already, and that's it. So and what did he matzah to matzah? So now that's the question, even though he doesn't mention the Braisa, the words he matzah to matzah at all. But that's really essentially what his question is. Ila came, so the answer, if so, I would say, Ma pratma footage, no. And now we go to the Braisa. The problem is we need him matzah to make it much more expansive, because if we can learn cloud, if I only say, for example, Shoyd, I would limit it to the Mizbeach. Say, I would limit it to B'chayda, and so on. What are you gonna add? So therefore we included that. What did Geneva come to add? How many became Geneva? What did Geneva come to add? Because we said before cloud prat to cloud to be marble more than the prat. That Abba's cold over to include everything.
In addition to Balachai.
Oh, but in a minute, we don't know about Chaim, right? We're going through the Braisa again, step by step. So if you say Shoyd, I would think only Mizbech. If we would say I would expand it, include also Kajub Chayda, which is Chamoy. And so why? And the Torah yet says Chamoy. So what's going to come into expansion? L'chayda comes by everything. So the question is always in the back of my mind. So why do I need Himatzah to Matzah? L'chayda from the cloud, part of the cloud, I learn everything. We're working our way through. How come everything's included? And my question goes back. What do I need Himatzah to Matzah? What's that adding? So we answer. Right, so the next step is B'chayda. So what do you come to include? The Chamoy already says the pasuk. Let Abbas called up. So he says no. If it would have just been klal or prat klal, the word chayim without hibatzah to matzah, I would include everything, including birds and so on, but only if it's alive, a living thing. How do I know non-living things? And that's why I need matzah to matzah. Even can you name a map prat before balachayim, I've called balachayim. Majlo v'shabal chayim. So I'm chayim, I'm chayim, I'm chayim geneva that Abbas called over. Even matzah is what I need matzah to matzah. Chayda, you already include everything else. What I need matzah to matzah. The answer is hachi. So if that's the pshat in the Braisa, then Shabbat Kashale. It's a good question. What do you need matzah to matzah for? Gemara says, the Isla Pircha, I can undermine this entire klal prat klal. And what is that? The rabbis called over mehechik ma'isla. Where are you learning to be marba everything? You're learning from the word chaim at the end, right? Miklol basra, or miklol guva chaim kasabei. The problem is, where are you learning everything from the second klal? Remember, how's it work? The first klal comes the prat and limits it to the prat. So which klal do we always use to teach you beyond the prat? The second klal. So how can second klal teach beyond itself? The word that we're using for the second klal is chayim, which means living beings, living things. So how can you come along and say that everything's included in Geneva, you pay kefil, when the very word chayim says no, it has to be alive. That's why you must say, Flalu pratikla, Maika Mahanele, what does it help? That's why you need him matzah to matzah. So that's what the pshat in the Braisa is.
Matzah is like a proceeding.
Yeah. So I want to ask first of all, He matzah to matzah really is a prat. It's just two klolim. He matzah, ti matzah, two klolim. You want to make a klal prat klal and expand further than the chayim? You're going to say this is what we. So where's the prat? Fedi mara, was it? Amri, let me tell you, how can you learn from him matzah to matzah? There's no prat. It's only klolim. So how can you dash cloud by the cloud? You know that one that has been like he must anything beyond Chaim. Amr Ravina says, Kid Amri Marova in the West, and at Yisrael they say, Kol Mokim Sha'ata Moitish Nei Klolos Hasmuchin Zelazeh. Whenever you find two klolim next to each other, Hatul Prat B'Neim. What you should do is, if the pratim no, that written later in the pasuk, imagine it was written between the two klolim. The doinam and legally, how do we treat that? The chlal prat klal, as if it's written a klal and a prat and a klal. So what we do is shadi shar ben imatzeh timatzeh. So now we go work through the whole thing now. Those pratim shor, chamoyer, and seh and chaim, throw them in between the imatzeh timatzeh, and we'll do the same thing. My. So throw the shor ben imatzeh timatzeh. Lasui. My. What does it come to include? Ilasui balachayim. If they come to include living things, then mechayim nafka. I live in the word Chaim. It says Shor, Chamoyer, Chaim, Shnaim, Shalom. So if we're coming to tell you living things, that we know from the word Chaim. Ela Lasui Dovish ain't about Chaim. Must be the word Shor now. Inanimate, even though it uses the word Shor, it's something that's beyond a living thing. But the Reish Hachin, this is how you should dash it. Ma haprat mefurish dover hametaltel. We're going to add the following things. It has to have similar properties to the pratim. We did learn more area machlekes where it has to be similar in one aspect or two aspects, but it has to be similar to the prat. Is ma haprat mefurish dover hametaltel, something which is mobile. The gufay mammon, and it's inherently has value. Is av kol had hametaltel gufay mammon. So not karka. And not Shtaris. Shtaris is only represents money, but it itself has no inherent value.
What's the basis for this name that they say this?
Because
like
everything else, what's the basis? It's all Moshe Messina. It's all Moshe Messina.
A klal of prat is a logical limit. So to go and create new rules all of a sudden, wherever you find, just throw in consider it as if it's a prat in between.
It's a step beyond. Rabbi Shmuel says that the klal basa doesn't have to be as expensive as the klal kama, but the klal basa is teaching you something that's included in the klal basa. Here, the problem was that the klal basa not only is more limiting, but you want to learn things beyond the klal basa. You want to learn the word is chayim, and you want to learn things which are beyond chayim. But from the prat, we can. We're saying that since the Torah, we don't need shoy because when it says chayim, why is it shoy?
It's like all the smoking.
Yeah. So we imagine again a local machine is they take the product and put it between the two clothing, and we're saying that shoy is coming to include things which are similar to shoy in the respect that it's mobile and inherently valuable.
But
that's it.
If you're looking at it, it's like a logical
there is
process.
No logic, yeah.
Where'd the logic go all of a sudden? We had a system called prat, and suddenly noch a prat.
Klal prat also from the local machine. Ella riba miad ella lasuya. Sorry. So I skipped the line here. What does chamoy come to add? Okay, now you're telling me we take the prat, we throw it to the two klolim to include things which are beyond chaim, things which are not alive. So what do I need chamoy for? What else can you add beyond? If it's coming to include things which are not alive, after we read off Mishai. To include things which Rashi learned before and traces that doesn't understand, things which have a simon. But things that don't have a simon, no. Tases again, so you has to understand what does kefil have to do with whether it has a simon or doesn't have a simon. You always pay kefil. You always a ganef. It was an ihachi selamali. Okay, let's say you found chamoy to tell you even things which are not muslim. What's that coming to add? Nothing. Ella riba umiyat beriba. This is no longer, we're saying that he matzeh to matzeh does not fall under the banner of klal or prata klal, but even immediately. By a klal or prata klal, we're saying that the klal is coming to add, right? Coming to add things of some of the prat. By a riba, yamid, and riba, we're doing the opposite. We're coming to exclude. Riba, everything is included, except that which is diametrically opposed to the miyat. So what's the miyat coming to exclude? So by klal prat klal coming to include, so we said we're including things, has to be something which is metaltalin and something which is gufa mummy. If we're learning it in the method of using the method of riboy means riboy, what is coming to actually exclude, and we have shayr, chamayr, and sen. Each one of them is coming to exclude something. And I was asking, so what? Now this is interesting. Rabbi Shmuel is one that says klal prat klal, and here we're going to use like a riboy mir to riboy because we can use both. Rabbi Shmuel says the Torah is Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel learned. It says there by a fish. And how do you know what's kosher? So it says there in the pasuk as follows: the following you can eat asher b'mayim. That's inside the water, and it has to have the two signs of fish. And it says again, it's not be b'kaskesses b'mayim. It says again water. So we have b'mayim is a klal, and then it's not b'kaskesses is nothing. B'mayim again is a klal, and then it says b'yamim uvan cholim. Those are found in the seas and the rivers. What about in other places? Found fish found in other places. You don't need the two signs. You can eat any. So obviously, we're going to include fish no matter where they're found. So here you have two klolim, b'mayim and b'mayim twice. The pratim are written afterwards, right? It says b'yamim and cholim, and the Rishon says as follows. He says, b'mayim based on ain't a klal prat. It's not a klal and a prat. Because we only learned by Yamin and Chol, you would think only fish found in those locations needed. What about fish found in ponds, fish found under subterranean in caves or something? You don't need. So therefore, if we use the method of riboy, because always ain't a prat, and therefore fish and other you don't need some money. By using the method of riboy, it includes any waterway, anywhere fish are found. You need these two signs. And if you learn the method, it only excludes something which is diametrically opposites, whatever it is. Ignoring people have a chum. Riba hakel. My Rabbi Kamili, as everything. So then we ask a question. Okay, let's go back to our method. So you tell me riba is everything except it's the me that comes to exclude. So what are we excluding here? What are coming to exclude? What are all these protein? So now we're coming to exclude, right? Not coming to include, but exclude. So one of them is to remind karka. Instead of saying that avodim is nachalta moisim, you learn from karka, it's a separate pasuk, separate word for avodim. And one to exclude something which has no intrinsic value, a document which only represents value.
If there's actual value to the star or not.
No, everyone agrees there's no value to the star. There's machlekes is garmi. I caused you a loss if I have to pay you. But here we're saying you don't pay double. You don't pay double.
Everyone knows keep a star hanging.
That's true. We had before. We had an argument. The chi lotzer of the chosa, and Mara says yes. Some people can imagine that's all you want it for.
Walk around with your real estate contract just in case I have to close.
Right, $100,000 deal. Yeah. Okay, so you said fine. So you have three words. Shoichamar and say comes to exclude karka, avodim. I think. A geneva v'chaim. What are you going to do with geneva and chaim? What is that used for? Says the Gemara. Since it's come to exclude, the pasuk has a geneva, which is a generic term, and the word chaim. What's that coming to tell you? So now we're going to say that the word chaim doesn't mean living things. It means chashiv. And this is what the Gemara tomorrow and onwards we're going to talk about the famous Rav. Likadarav. This is a predicate what Rav said. Rav or support what Rav said. You stole something worth X amount of dollars. By the time you were taken to Bezin and everything else, it lost value. The market, let's say, crashed and was less. What price do you pay? The price that you stole or the price that now you went to Bezin? So we learn from the pasuk Chaim Shnayim Yishal. Make a choshev. Got to make a choshev payment, and that is you pay the original price. Okay, so that's what we use the word chaim. Nothing to do with the riba mir, the riba. Not coming to exclude anything. Come to teach you a different name altogether. So the Gemara. Now we go back to the whole discussion we had before. The two psukim by Shemer. If the first pasuk by Shemer is talking about a toyin tainas ganav, is talking about if the Shemer himself says that it was stolen, turned out to be that he was the ganav, or we're talking about an actual ganav. Right? One pasuk says im lo yimatzeh, and one one pasuk says he matzeh tematzeh. Right? It says imatzeh ganav. The first pasuk says ki yitin yishareu kesef v'kelim. It says imatzeh ganav yishal shnayim. If he was found, you pay double. And then the next pasuk says and im lo yimatzeh ganav. And that pasuk we all agreed. Im lo yimatzeh ganav, the way your story that you told us which turned out to be incredulous because you yourself were the ganef. So the second pasuk definitely is talking about Toyin Tainas ganef. The question of the first pasuk where it says in Yematzah ganef, the Yishalom Shnaim, are we talking about a ganef really or a Toyin Tainas ganef? And if we talk about Toyin Tainas ganef, we said why do we need two psukim regarding Toyin Tainas ganef? We need to tell you only if he Tainas was stolen, but if he Tainas was lost, and it turned out to be that he was a ganef, you don't pay double. We said the name of Rabbi Yechon. So now the Gemara goes back to that discussion. Laman Dama Chad Big Ganef. Sorry, I missed this. Keep going. More than one line. Laman Dama. The last two lines of Laman Dama. Laman Dama Chad Big Ganef. Chad Big Ganef. Like two psukim, each one is talking about a different case. The Ganef Atzmai, and how do you know the Ganef itself? Nafkalemi Miyotze Ganef. The one who learns that the first pasuk is talking about the actual Ganef, not that the Shema turned out to be the Ganef. They found the actual Ganef. And that's how you know you pay for the concession. Is maybe much high much my dodge. What does he need? He much the much. He already know from this pasuk here that he pays double on everything. When he much the much tell you pays double on everything. Says the Gemara. You need it for another din altogether. And this is the concept we had before that only if Adim caught you do you pay knas. But if you came a step forward and you were made since it's a knas, made be knas, you are potter. If he admitted that he stole, he's potter. My time I didn't have done made potter. How does Taka know that if you were made it's one thing you were made, you're not going to incriminate yourself, so you don't have to pay. But if Adim came along afterwards, made be knas, but how do you know you're potter? In other words, it's not the pshat that you cannot be mechai yourself. The fact that you came forward is like a form of tshuva. There's no point in penalizing you again, and therefore we say that even tomorrow, Aiden come along and say you stole it. We're not going to charge you double.
What's the point of the Aiden coming? You already know.
They don't know that you were murdered, but they don't know. Yeah, the question is, we'll still say there's a machlekes. How do we understand the machlekes as follows? How do we understand Moed B'Knas Pater? Is the pshat is you cannot incriminate yourself like in American law, Havdul. You cannot incriminate yourself, so therefore we're not going to make you pay double. You want to give the guy the principal, give it, or the pshat is no, it's no the product, or is that a ptur? Is it that we cannot be mechayiv you, or is it that this is a ptur? It says Asher Yashir Elakim, as we'll soon see, the bezin will be mechayiv. No, you cannot be mechayiv yourself. That extra penalty. The reason why you're paying back the principal is because you stole it. Because the act of stealing warrants the thing. The other one is a penalty. You cannot bring penalty on yourself. Is that the pshat? Or the pshat is that because I came forward and I admitted it, I just did tshuva. So that's a ptur that exonerates me. And then if they didn't come afterwards, who cares? I already paid back. This is a form of payment. By admitting in public, I shame myself, humiliate myself. That's the machlekes. That's the machlekes. So Rabu says, you still potter because that's a form of payment. How does he know that? You still need a pasuk to teach you that. How do you know that? So he says, the chsiv, because it says im hi matzeh timatzeh, and that is im hi matzeh beidim. If you were caught out by Aiden, in other words, who came to Bezin first? Not you yourself. The Aiden did. Then Timatzeh b'dayan. Then the Yanin will find you guilty and make you pay double. Prat lemashias atzim. But if you are the one that brought forward this whole idea and you said that you were guilty, then you don't pay the double. Says he might fine. But the one who holds tarvayi b'toyin tainas ganeh, the one who learns that both talking about toyin tainas ganeh, not a ganeh himself. So how does he take to know that moide b'knas? He uses him matzeh. How does he know a ganef is chayv double? For the pasuk he matzeh like we just learned. Mashi asked him, "No, how does he know the whole ptur of the So he says, "Consider the pasuk masher yashir elakim." Only if a bezin finds you guilty, loy hamashi is atzma. You cannot. No, but if you learn from this pasuk yashir yashir elakim, all we know is that you cannot be mechayiv. Not that this is a form of ptur, not that this is a form of payment, but only if a bezin finds you guilty can they levy this payment. Anyhow. Well, okay, so now we have an extra pasuk. So now we go back to the other opinion. Well, the one who holds it from the first pasuk, and he matzit the matzit user for moed b'knas. What does he do with the pasuk asher yashir lakim? He uses the matzit high asher yashir. My daughter, what does he do with the? We just said he matzit to matzit come teach you that that if you're found by Adim, discovered by Adim, then you don't have to. Then you pay. So what does he do with asher yashir lakim? You have two psukim. One pasuk to teach you the principle that if you made a b'knas potter. The second pasuk teaches you that even though Aiden came afterwards, which is the bigger chiddush, you're still potter. That's why you need two psukim. So we go back to the other opinion. The other opinion only has one spare pasuk. Asher Hashem Lakim. How did you know that made a b'knas? Ba'achikar bo Aiden you potter. Because he take a hold that moide beknas he owes chayiv. And the reason we just said, because moide beknas is not a form of payment, because he learns from Yashir Yashir Lakim. From Asher Yashir Lakim, means all it is that only a Lakim, only a bezin can implement such a penalty, such a payment. You can't implement it. Doesn't mean you're potter. So if Adam come along and say that you got it, you pay. Yeah, even though it's after your admission. Said the Gemara, the one that says the not Mahasam, he learned Ganav from the original pasuk by Shloim. Is Bishleim im him matzeh to matzeh. If he uses, what does he do with the matzeh to matzeh? Kidder Rabbi Bar Eloi, he uses matzeh to matzeh like Rabbi Bar Eloi that says that moide beknas the achekach bo edim is potter, right? He matzeh only if you use only if you found by edim. So what in the world does he need all these pratim in that pasuk? He doesn't need it for Geneva because we Geneva from the other pasuk from Shlomo. What does he do all the pratim? So we answer, that's not a problem. You know why? Because the Tanner Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel is getting his name mentioned here a lot of times today. But it's more than that. This is okay in Klal Prat, and now there's another thing altogether. This is Tanner Rabbi Shmuel, another one we have many times in Shas, and that is sometimes you ask, why does the Torah have to repeat all these pratim? So Rabbi Shmuel made a said it in. If there's one novelty in that pasuk, one chiddush, then the Torah bothered rewriting the whole episode with all the rewriting all the pratim again, Like everybody asked in the beginning of Shmos, if all these looking to repeat again, we had a Vayigash, we had everything else. Why repeat till Vayokim al Chadash? Everything's repeated. In the Elish Mavin we had a Vayigash, and so on. So they say because there's one chiddush here, and once you, Rabbi Shmuel says, once you have one chiddush, you can repeat everything else. And the chiddush here is that it says Eitz Yaakov. Before it doesn't say Eitz Yaakov, it says they all Yaakov Banav Bo Mitzrayim. Here's Eitz Yaakov, as if Yaakov was the mentor for everybody else, because he said Logur Mitzrayim, like it says in Haggadah. He didn't come to Shtakeya. Shlomo only came to Logur. Always remember when you're in Golus, we're temporary. Exactly. Waiting for Mashiach. Tana Shmuel, call Parsha Shenemar of Nishla Nishla Dovish Chazboy. If a Parsha is repeated again, as long as the Chiddush there, that's good enough. The Gemara, now that we're learning, the aim, just like a Toyin Tainas Ganav. Remember we learned before. When does a Toyin Tainas Ganav have to pay double? Only if he swore false and then turned out to be Ganav. If he didn't swear false, he just claimed it was stolen. Turned out to be that the animal was sitting in his barn or he ate it. He doesn't pay double. So maybe every Ganav is the same thing. Maybe a Ganav also should also only have to pay double if he swore that I didn't steal this item. Because we're learning from a pasuk of Shaiman, maybe only the shua. Loisad that it can't be. The Tanya we learned of Yaakov says in pasuk Shnayim Yishalim. In that pasuk it says you have to pay Shnayim by a Shaiman. Shaloi b'shvua. It must. If we're talking about a Ganav, it's talking about paying without even a shua. How do I know? Maybe it's a shua. Amrit, no. Can't be. When it comes to the Ganav, even if he doesn't swear. What do you mean can't be? My lekachaya. I'm gonna buy it. Very simple. Remember before we asked the question, why do you even need a pasuk by a Ganav? Let's learn a Kavachemer. For Toyin Tainas Ganav who received the item legally and yet has to pay double if he decided to steal it. Imagine the guy who stole it himself came to his possession illegally. So he said, "Die love anything you know." That what? That if the Ganav, it will have to be only if there's a shua. Okay, you're learning from a Toyin Tainas Ganav. When should a Ganav pay double if he swore? So now Abai says, but now that we have a pasuk to tell you that a Ganav has to pay double, if you're limiting him only to a shavua, then what I need a pasuk for? I can learn a Kavachemer. The only reason why I have a pasuk is to teach you something that I would not have known from the Kavachemer, and that is that even without a shavua, a Ganav has to pay double. Let's use the Kavachemer. Came to this legally. Today, pay double. No Ganav to be sued us. Came to this illegally, like Koshkin, surely. If you learn the first pasuk, you're talking about a Ganav. What's the pasuk coming to add that I wouldn't have known the Kavachemer? Must be that for the Shalai Bishwur. Give that a Shur. Says the Gemara. I have one last question. Let me finish this. This Gemara is one of the most pedantic Gemaras that we had in Shas. Says the Gemara. Is that what we're using in Matzi Shabbat Ganav? We need it for the Gemara for the other thing that we quoted a number of times, and that is the it says in Pasuk in Matzi if he found the Geneva be Yodai. What if there be yod in his hand? So only if you found it mamash in his hand. Gagoy, chatzeidoi, karfifoi minayin. If he found it in his possessions in his courtyard, on his roof, or his porch, how do you know? Amalaymet im hi motzei ti motzei. Comes to expand anywhere. Mikomok, wherever it may be. So how can you use the motzei? The motzei, you know, we said before, he would meet or could get all that. How can you for anything? Or I said, no, im ken lemakra oi he motzei he motzei. Use the same word, repeat it twice. Oi ti motzei ti motzei. Midashoni kra, because it says he motzei ti motzei shmam and otati. Teach you two things. Okay, that finishes the pshat part of the Gemara. Tomorrow starts the whole sugya of Geneva and Yish and all those kind of wonderful things. And so the end of the pair, end of the Masechta.